How can play-based learning change mindsets in math class? How can teachers develop core competencies in their students? What can a collaborative learning model look like in your classroom? Welcome back to another episode of the Teachers on Fire podcast, airing live on YouTube every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. My name is Tim Cavey, and my mission here is to warm your heart, spark your thinking, and ignite your professional practice. Today's Teacher on Fire is Ashley Bodnar. Ashley is a teacher in Coquitlam, Canada. She was a 2023 recipient of the Prime Minister's Teaching Excellence Certificate of Achievement and is known for her work in inquiry, collaboration, and building students' core competencies. You can connect with Ashley on LinkedIn and on Instagram at Teach, Reflect, Repeat. Ashley, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Are you ready to light it up?
I am. I'm so excited to meet you. I've seen your stuff before and I've never actually met you, so I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
What a pleasure. Thank you so much, Ashley, for sharing some of your precious summertime to come on the program. And yes, we've connected, I think, on Instagram, and I kept seeing this amazing teacher in the Vancouver area, and I just thought, I need to get to know this person. So here we are. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to chatting for a few minutes this morning about your work. Just before we get to your work and your mission in education and the award that I just mentioned, take us to a story of adversity. Tell us about a low moment that you've experienced somewhere in your journey and describe how you overcame it.
Yeah. So we had an administrator come into our school, and he had like a clear vision of where he wanted to take our school. But our staff was kind of stuck in like, well, we do things a certain way around here. So there was some resistors. His whole idea was taking us out of our silos and helping us become collaborators by putting us into teams and seeing where that would go. I was really excited about the idea. So my team and I, we just went with it, not really knowing what to expect. But there were some teachers, like I said, who were really resisting, and that caused a really big shift in our staff where it kind of felt like us versus them. And it lasted like that for a couple of years. It was really hard, not only on the staff, but, the students kind of felt it as well. What ended up changing is when the resistors saw how impactful this vision was. And then they're like, hey, we could get behind that. And then once they did, everything just went back to the way it was. But yeah, having a division in the staff is quite stressful.
I can imagine. Yeah. And for it to be so visible and obvious that even the students are picking up on the tension, that's a challenging environment. Absolutely. Well, there's a lot that can be said about change management and about earning the support of the lead teachers in the building. That's a fascinating situation to work your way through, but I'm glad you're on the other side of it. I want to talk about your award, this recognition. Congratulations, Ashley. That is so awesome. And as a small note, here in Canada, we have a prime minister who was once a teacher himself. So that's an interesting note as well. Let's talk about different pieces of your practice that really earned you this recognition. And I want to start with the collaborative learning model. Let's talk more about that. What is it? What do you mean by collaborative learning model? And what does that look like in your classroom? Give us a snapshot.
Yeah, firstly, this award, I wouldn't have been recognized for it without my collaborative team. Like I said, the administrator really believed in us, and we wanted to just see what it was like, but we didn't really know what we were doing. And it was kind of like trial and error. And then when we kind of gained momentum, we realized, okay, this is working. That's what ignited my passion for this collaborative learning model. I wrote my thesis on how this model can help build core competencies. And if you do it right, then it can. So collaboration isn't just about teamwork. It's more than that. It's a culture that you create in your classroom. It's co-creating class norms with your students so that they know how to act in these collaborative settings. It's the furniture in your classroom. is designed to collaborate. There is inquiry projects on the go. The teacher acts as a facilitator more than just the person at the front just telling kids what to do. There's ongoing self assessment, so you're not just saving it for the end. And because the teacher is a facilitator, and because the furniture is naturally in groups, it's really easy to do check-ins with students and see them progress. A really important thing about the collaborative learning model is that when students are doing group work, there's like interdependence between them. So they're autonomous, but they also rely on each other to reach goals. Like there's the definition of cooperation and collaboration. The difference, cooperation is when you each have a task and you complete something, and then there's like a final result because each person did a piece. Whereas collaboration is more, we're all working together. How can we help each other? What's your idea? Oh, I didn't consider that. So you're really considering different perspectives. And something that can make teachers feel a little bit uncomfortable with this model is that sometimes the classroom can feel noisy. And, you know, a lot of times I go into classrooms, people are like, shh, shh, shh. But oftentimes, like, this noise is, if you like listen really closely, there's lots of learning going on. Obviously, you don't want it to be like screaming, but you want it to be like, you know, people are communicating, people are problem solving, and within this space and within this model, that's what happens. And if you take the time to listen, it's mind blowing. So yeah, that's the collaborative model to me.
I love that distinction, Ashley, between collaboration and cooperation. It's been a while since I've heard it, but I think that's so helpful. And we need to share that with our students too. I'm sure you do. And I think students would be interested to see that difference because, yes, on the one side, we're cooperating, but there's no interaction necessarily. It's sort of like the old jigsaw method. And in collaboration, there's that synchronicity of brains working together. It makes me think of Dr. Peter Liljedahl's thinking classroom, right? And the groups working on the wall. And we are going to talk about math in a few minutes. But first of all, I want to, or not first of all, second of all, I suppose, next on my list here of topics that I want to get into, I was reading through your bio or an article published about you and discovered that your professional journey began as a paraprofessional. And I think of one of my colleagues, Ashley, who had a similar pathway, and she is, I consider her a master teacher because of all of the insights, the particular sensitivities now that she has in the area of learning disabilities and IEPs and just making sure that the environment is as inclusive as possible. So have you found that's been a similar advantage to you in your teaching practice?
Yes, everything you just said. Plus, I felt like because I've had like a front row seat for 5 years, I could be like, okay, these are the practices that I will do. These are the ones that I'm going to avoid. Um, but after I became a teacher, I was really able to, because I had all of this background knowledge, I was really able to dig in pedagogy. And at the time when I became a teacher, I'm like kind of dating myself here. BC, British Columbia, where I live, we just got a new curriculum. Teachers didn't have to use it yet, but I was really intrigued. And I read something about inquiry based learning, but at the time, there wasn't really anything on that. So, because I felt like I had a lot of background knowledge from being a paraprofessional, I was really able to dig in to what inquiry based learning was and use that early on in my career. And I really think that that experience just allowed me to have like benefits. Like I didn't have to take the early years of my career to learn that.
Right, right. Something else that I think we forget about as teachers, if we haven't gone this pathway, is that paraprofessionals often have seen far more teachers in action than teachers have.
Right.
Which is really interesting, right? That I think for so many teachers, and this is sort of a sad reality, that a lot of teachers actually don't get to sit in other teachers' classrooms. I know it depends on the administration and the building and the district policies there, but because that can be facilitated. But yeah, a lot of teachers just haven't had that exposure, and paraprofessionals have seen a range of teachers over the years. And of course, they've seen substitute teachers. So as you said, you see what you like and you see what you say, I will never do that
Yeah.
over the years. Well, part of your experience, part of your journey, Ashley, is a neighborhood involves a neighborhood that I'm a little bit familiar with down in Vancouver's downtown Eastside. It's a challenging postal code, to put it lightly, here in Canada. What are and maybe we'll just put it simply to say there are a lot of social challenges, social struggles in that area. What are one or two of your celebrations and hopes for the schools and students in this community?
Yeah. When I was working in this particular school, I noticed a lot of inequity, just like not only within the district, but within like schools all over Canada. And I think what really helped us with the students and like make them have a really positive educational experience is really being a tight-knit staff who really believed in them. We really thought that we treated them like we had really high expectations for all students, no matter what. And because of these high expectations, like students were thriving. They loved coming to school. It felt like a really loving community. Of course, there were issues, but we didn't treat the kids as if they're well. We obviously kept in mind like their background, but we really tried to make students feel capable. And so my hope for these students is that they believe that they're capable, right? They take that with them. They have confidence to do whatever they want because everyone deserves that, right? So it was really eye-opening for me to be working at this particular school, especially so early on in my career. I did get to learn a lot. So yeah.
So cool. That's a powerful point, and it's one that Judy, Halbert, and Linda Kaser talk about. Just the power of having of a student knowing that a staff member or two staff members in the building really believe in them. And that belief is transformative. It's extremely powerful and significant. We've got some fellow Vancouverites in the house this morning. Welcome to Tom Shimmer. He says, good morning, Ashley and Tim. Natalie's here as well. She says, oh my gosh, I love that Ashley Bodnar is a guest on the show. I'm a huge fan. Well,
thank you.
Hey, Tom and Nat, we are honored to have you with us here for a few minutes, as long as you can hang out. And we were just chatting with you off air, so in very positive ways. So thank you for joining us.
We're big fans.
We are big fans. Yes. And to you, Teachers on Fire, to others who are hanging out with us live this morning, if you're getting value from this conversation, give the video a like. I'd be so honored by that. Ashley, let's talk about the core competencies here in British Columbia, and I'll let you set the stage. Let's start with this question for others not in this jurisdiction. What do we mean by core competencies? What are they, and what are they supposed to do?
Yeah, I think it's like easy to tell just a little bit of a story. So when I was in grade 8, my teacher would say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And we all were like, I don't know. We all picked pretty traditional jobs. Like I actually chose being a teacher. And then he stopped and said, what happens if I were to tell you that your job might not even exist yet? And to me, that like was an aha moment that I've kept with me this whole time. So for me, core competencies are essential and transferable skills that are needed for lifelong learning. In BC, we break them down into communication, thinking, and personal and social awareness. And the idea is if you have these skills and if teachers nurture these skills in students, we will set them up for success.
All right. Well, there they are, at least in brief. And this has become a focus of your work. And that's where I want to go next. So tell us about this book that you've got in the works. Very exciting. Would you describe your aim? How do you help how do you aim to help teachers support student growth in the core competencies? And how can we make the core competencies an organic part of our classroom cultures?
Yeah, so there's a lot of barriers for teachers in terms of implementing core competencies, and I want to help them be able to implement them with more meaning and more naturally, where it adds value to not only them but the students as well. So for me, giving teachers and students strategies is my biggest thing because in BC we're mandated to report on core competencies, and what that looks like oftentimes I see it like teachers struggling. Oh, do you have a reflection? Do you have something I can add? And it's not really meaningful. Like research actually shows that if you just have these like one-off summative reports, it's not valuable for anyone. So what I want to do is help teachers realize that we can include core competencies like in our daily practice. So you can do it through daily intentions. You can do it from having really powerful visuals, discussion prompts, journaling. I've made portfolios for students. The list goes on and on. So my with my book, I'm not only trying to give teachers information on how we can make it easier for them, but also like why it's important. And then I have resources to help support them.
That is so great and so needed because we have these wonderful core competencies, again, that apply to all students in the province, K through 12. So we have that longitudinal consistency, but we also have this challenge I've found of not allowing them to become dead and repetitive and sort of meaningless, so that in fact it's a vibrant, meaningful part of the school life. So thank you for your work there. I look forward to seeing the finished product. I also wanted to talk about play-based learning. So I'm hopping around a little bit because you bring so many different areas of expertise, Ashley. You've written about how play-based learning really changed your own math mindset and allows you today to help students in a similar way. So talk about the power of play-based learning in the math class. And I wonder if you could share one way that you bring it into your classroom.
Well, when I was growing up, I always thought I was bad at math. I actually failed math multiple times in high school. And as soon as you get that mindset, I'm bad at something, you truly believe it. When I became a teacher, they make you do math classes, and I was dreading it. I was like, I can't do this, I can't do this. And then I just had this remarkable professor who used play based math, and my marks were like through the roof. And I was like, okay, there's something to this. The idea is that there's more than one way to get an answer, right? So when I was in school, you had to do it the teacher's way. If you didn't understand the way the teacher did it, then you didn't understand math, right? Whereas math through play and exploration, you're able to find a way that it works for you. So I'm not here to say like don't do worksheets, like that's just so bad, because I do see a value in teaching students using worksheets. Like they can practice the concept, they build the foundational skills. But for me, the worksheets are like, okay, this is the what. This is what you need to know. And then the play-based part is like, okay, the now what? What are we going to do with this? How are we going to make this fun for you? How are we going to make this memorable for you? Because let's be honest, like I remember doing worksheets when I was a kid, but I don't remember what the worksheets were. So the idea here is, okay, for example, I teach my students theoretical probability. So the theory of probability. So what are the chances of if you do if I spin a spinner, what are the chances that you're going to land on a purple, right? Like you can do that. It's whatever. You can do worksheets. It's okay. They get it. But when you turn that into, okay, now we're going to experiment with probability and let's do it in a school-wide arcade, and you're responsible for making a game, and there's going to be prizes, and you make it so that they are really excited about it. Now they know what probability is. They've played, they know, they understand it, and hopefully it like sticks with them, right? And then they look back when they're older. I remember this time when, for me, that's what it's all about, like just creating learning that is memorable.
I love that so much. I've seen that in action, and yes, it's powerful. And other students from other grades are able to participate, right? Depending on how you set it up, I suppose. And so you're actually sharing learning across your building, which is really
Right.
powerful as well. If you're enjoying this conversation, Teachers on Fire, consider adding the Teachers on Fire YouTube channel to your morning commute. Start your week on fire. Ashley, let's get into some quicker questions here. And by quicker, I mean I'll try to restrain my responses. But starting with this one, I sort of like to get the holistic, multidimensional picture of the educator. So outside of education, what's another area of learning for you? What is it that ignites your passions away from professional learning and brings you alive as a human being?
Yeah, I don't know if you've experienced this, but I get teacher burnout every single year, and it's a thing, and it's really tough mentally, physically. So for me, it's really important to try to take care of my mental and physical health as much as I can. So just taking, like, doing yoga, working out, like taking time for me is like really helpful in terms of my passions. I think we have to remember that as a teacher, it's like we're constantly like having to do things, and it's mostly for other people. So we really have to prioritize doing things for us. It always just reminds me of being on an airplane. It's like you have to put your
Right.
mask on first, right? So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Love that analogy. Share about a personal habit or a productivity hack that contributes to your success and allows you to do things like write books on the side.
Okay. For me, it's, I don't know about you, but like I have my teacher Instagram account. So like I scroll, and I get a lot of amazing ideas. And sometimes you can't really do anything at the time with an idea, right? So for me, my biggest thing I'm doing right now is saving it into a folder for later, for future Ashley to worry about, or to do something with. And then, when we're really busy, the school year is going to start, we're really busy. It's like, well, I don't have time to think. You just go into the folder. What do I have saved? Oh, I can do that. So doing little simple things right now can benefit me later.
That's such a great practice. Point to an edtech tool or app that you currently love using somewhere in your professional space.
I have two. The first one is Canva, and
Yes.
it's free for educators. And I actually love using it, not only for me, but with my students. I think like the things that they've created with Canva are just mind blowing. And so Canva, number one, and then just something to help with behavior management, or like to actually keep things a little bit fun. There's something called, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's called Classroom Screens. So basically, you put it up on your smart board, or Apple TV or whatever you have in your class, and there are little widgets that you can add to this. It's like a whiteboard, and then you can add like a timer, or you can add like the traffic light, or you can add a sound meter, or there's sometimes games that you can add. And yeah, so it's actually a really fun way to, yeah, like behavior management, and just like, yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. Recommend one book, one that you've been reading lately, perhaps, or one of your all-time faves, and tell us why you recommend it.
I actually love this book called What Happened to You by Oprah and Dr. Bruce Perry. So essentially, it's about how self-regulation can help with learning. So, well, there's more to it, but that's my biggest thing from it. So we can't expect students to learn anything if they're not regulated. And that is, like with teaching, there's like a time frame. Oh, it's like 9:45, we have to do this. It's like, well, we won't be able to do anything if the kids are not okay. So for me, it's really like opened up my eyes to like meeting kids where they're at,
Yeah.
so that we can get the best out of them.
Yeah. That's that paraprofessional expertise coming through again, I think. Tell us about someone that we need to follow on Education X. I know you're not there as often, or possibly Instagram, maybe LinkedIn, and share why they've been inspiring you lately.
I have like a laundry list of people, and I was like, oh, which one, like, who do I pick? Everyone is so great. So I just kind of went more vague here. Like, Edutopia has been my jam. I just every day I see educators that I wouldn't normally be able to, like maybe they wouldn't come up on my feed, but just like there's like inspiring quotes, there's like teachers in practice that are giving great ideas. There's just so much information in this one little hub, so that's my favorite right now.
Such a great source. And just for fun, Ashley, you've got a little bit more time at your disposal over the summer, I would imagine. What are you streaming during your downtime right now on Netflix, Prime, Crave, whatever it happens to be?
I am like so old school. I like stick to the classics.
Okay.
I'm like Seinfeld, Office, Friends. Yeah. Or I can like completely go the other way and just like do the trashiest TV and just watch like those reality shows on Netflix. And I'm like,
Right.
but yeah, either way.
Very fun. Those definitely are the classics, the great icons. Ashley, as we wrap this up, what are the best ways for the Teachers on Fire listening and watching to follow you?
Instagram is what I'm most active on. So teach reflect at teach reflect repeat.
All right, that is it. And nice and simple. I love that brand. Teach, reflect, repeat. Well, thank you so much, Ashley. I really appreciate your insights. It's been so good to connect with you and get a bit of a vision for your work. By the way, as we start to wind this down, can you give us, I didn't actually ask you for a timeline on the book. So for the listeners and viewers, what's kind of your, no one's holding you to anything rigid here, but what's your projected timeline and hope for this coming book about supporting teachers with the core competencies?
The sooner the better. I'm almost done. So close to the finish line.
All right. All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much again for working on that, investing on that. It's going to be a great help to teachers here in BC and I'm sure around the world. Teachers on Fire. I'm your host, Tim Cavey, and I'm so grateful that you too decided to spend some of your day listening to this podcast or joining us live here in the video format. I hope that in some way the content you heard today from Ashley Bodnar sparked your thinking and ignited your practice. And I'll see you next week right here on the Teachers on Fire podcast. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. Slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still